Now, there's this African American sister who's been living in Africa, traveling in different African countries, sharing her perspectives. I've been watching some of her videos, and they're really helpful. Actually, they're really helpful. But I found this video that she did, which is really the thing I've been talking about also here, and I couldn't help but be happy that she's been able to see this and address this major issue. You see, African Americans, some of us, some of you, I am an African, you are an African American. So some of you like to procrastinate. You like to say, tomorrow I'll do this, tomorrow I'll do that. Let me tell you something. If you are able to move to Africa today, don't wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow is never a guarantee. So without further ado, I want us to listen to the sister. Everything she has to say is really important. And then I'll give you my critical analysis in the end of the video.
Ooh, this is a public service announcement. 2024 is going to be a year of abundance, prosperity, thriving for many people. These are the people that have made sacrifices, that have committed to their work, that have committed to their plan, and are ready to take the leap. And for those that have kind of made, you know, minor moves or been a little reluctant for whatever reason, there are going to be some challenges along the way. And I'm here in the village of Masinga, Solomon Linda, and there is something that I was just called to share this morning. So welcome to the channel. My name is Ashley. My channel, Ashley in Africa. I talk about my experience living and doing business here on the continent of Africa. I am clearly living, okay? Living in the village. I've spent almost a week now here in the village, and I'm just very moved to share this message. If this content resonates with you, be sure to like it, share it with someone who finds value in it as well. There's so much happening here at the house, and it's like a farmhouse. There's a chicken coop there, some goats were passing by. When I was doing an earlier video, you can see this beautiful cooperative of harvesting land, farming land back there. You might see some cows. You see the traditional, well, not traditional, but the water jugs. We had some water challenges this morning, but all is fair when in the village. And the reminder was just keep going. Adaptation is key. And for our people, I wonder why so many people say to me, you know, wow, you're so ingrained in the culture, you're so interested. Why is that? And I don't know why, other than I just am very curious, but also very interested. I think there is a desire to understand why, to remember why, to remember the things that we were removed from. And for my people, specifically in the US, African Americans, we have been so removed. We literally don't speak our language that is our own. We literally don't practice a religion that is our own. We literally are just so adaptive to the culture around us, right? The American culture, it is our culture, but it's all made up. None of it is traditional. None of it has come from anything other than the idea of capitalism. And we need to pay attention in this time. It's going to get harder for people to migrate, to assimilate, to even travel to the continent. And I don't mean this as it won't happen, it's going to be impossible. But for many people who understand travel internationally, if you're an African, continental African, and you've traveled, you know the challenges of even going to another African country. Having to go to the US or the West is much harder. Having to provide bank statements, having to provide a verified address, having to provide a letter of why you want to be there, bank statements to make sure that you can maintain yourself. That is the reality for millions of travelers and has been for decades, centuries. these things are going to happen in a different way, right? I just feel that, you know, the way geopolitically my home country is setting itself up, it may be challenging for Americans to have the freedoms and flexibilities globally that we've always had. And so be mindful of this, prepare. If you don't have your passport, you need to have your passport. If you can't get a passport, you need to uncover why you can't get it and get in motion. Get in motion. Get in motion. Don't put off things that you can handle today. You don't have to wait for 2024 to set things in action. And who knows, I might post this and it might be 2024. But you know, these things are going to get more challenging. The way we have allowed ourselves to be depicted on social media. I talk to many South Africans that are like, yo, it's bad in America, isn't it? You know, it's bad for you guys there. You know, what's happened? What's happened to you guys there? And there is an admiration, an appreciation, a respect that feels like it's dwindling. Because of the ways we've allowed ourselves to be portrayed, not only in traditional media, but social media, digital media. And not everybody wants us here, okay? And not everybody wants to go there. And so that perception is important because it affects our assimilation. It affects the way that we're able to come and, you know, assimilate into the culture, which is so important. It's so important to our longevity and to our success. Yes, there are so many things that we can bring that are positives, but there's so many things we need to learn, we need to understand, and we need to remember. And we need to also acknowledge so that we can look at our long-term stability in this country or whatever country it is that you decide to travel to or migrate to. The way in which we are showing up in social media and digital media is not a positive one. And yes, there are positive portrayals. We have to be a little bit more critical, a lot more critical of ourselves and our communities in order to sustain this next season. And whatever that looks like for you, whatever that work looks like for you, that's for you. Right? And whatever feels good is what you should do and adopt to. And it will get harder before it gets easier. But hopefully you found people and inspiration in others, whether it's me or other content creators that are trying to share their experiences and their journeys for your benefit.
Yeah, we've been able to see what the sister has said. The sister has promised that Africa is going to be hard in 2024. Africa is already hard. She said harder in 2024. What does she mean by harder? There's one thing you can overcome through these hardness or harder things. In my high school, I used to be taught about Darwin's theory of evolution. Darwin's theory of evolution took 4 stages, or maybe 5. So the first one was natural selection. The second one was adaptation. The third one was mutation. And fourth one was isolation. Nature has to select. You have to adapt. You have to mutate. And then you have to be isolated. Many African Americans are passing through these stages. You know, nature tells you, oh, you should move to Africa. All the circumstances are forcing you to leave USA and move to Africa. That one, nature has selected what you need to do. And then how about adaptation? You need to adapt with the environment you go to. Africa is a third world country. I'm always telling you this. I'm always telling you this. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. I'm preparing you, okay? Africa is a third world country, and you as an African American, come with that mindset. African Americans, some of you come here, complain a lot. You don't have to complain because you've already been told Evans from Kenya is here to help you avoid any possible mistake that you might do in this event of moving to Africa. Come looking for Africa. Don't come looking for the United States of America in Africa. You will feel very bad. You won't adapt, and you'll feel like you can't, and you'll die. You'll die like your energy will die, is what I mean. So that is natural selection. We have adaptation. You have to adapt. Then you have to mutate. Mutating is becoming one with Africans. Be one with an African. You see? Don't be like kerosene and water. Kerosene and water are immiscible liquids. They do not mix. Because one is polar, one is non-polar. One is organic, one is non-organic. In order for us to be in agreement, in order for us to work together, we have to be in an agreement. Two can't work unless they are in agreement. So African Americans have to be in agreement with the Africans in order to survive in the African land. The same which happens when Africans leave Africa and go to the United States. They have to adapt to the African land. They have to mutate. They have to be one with the American land when we go there. But when you come here, the same happens. So that is why I'm saying mutate. Be one with the Africans. Don't put yourself out. Don't put yourself out, you know. Don't say, I'm the king. I want all the fresh, best women. You'll even go to the extent of having wrangles with the Africans. I've heard of such a case of an African American who was having wrangles on women with the Africans. Don't come to Africa looking for that. Don't come looking for trouble. I'm telling you this, maybe someone else won't. It's so serious. Then the fourth one, we have isolation. Isolation has to happen. You have to be isolated from what you've been accustomed to for a very, very long time. You've been accustomed to the culture, you've been accustomed to the racism, you've been accustomed to the high standard of living, you've been accustomed to this and that. All that you need to leave behind. The part that I find really, really painful, and it will be hard for even me because it's a human nature thing, leaving your family behind and moving to a very, very land far away. It's like how God told Abraham, I want you to leave this place. I'll choose a land for you. Abraham did not hesitate. He listened to the inner voice. Sometimes it's always important to listen to the inner voice, because most of the time the inner voice is always right. The inner voice that speaks so quietly. It never forces you. It speaks so quietly. That one. That is the voice I'm talking about. So after isolation, then you can survive. So these are the 4 stages that African Americans have to pass when moving to Africa. Choose an African country that vibes with you. You can't just move to a country because many African Americans are there. You can't just move to a country because... Do your research. Always do your research. And a lot of YouTubers are really pushing boundaries. They're bringing information to your table, and they're virtually bringing you to Africa so that you're able to see the things in the ground even before visiting. Knowing the prices, knowing this and that, that's okay. It's okay to do your research so that when you come, you know what to expect. I did a video where this woman was complaining. She went almost to all countries in Africa, and she realized that she was not ready for Africa. I don't know what ready means, but she said that she was not ready for Africa. So she went back to United States of Babylon. She went back there. I don't know why she went back there. Maybe she was not ready. But you've heard, take your time and move to Africa as early as possible. Don't delay, don't wait, because time and tide waits for no man. While you still have the energy, leave. United States of America, move to Africa. Africa is where you came from. And that's why I'm having the confidence to tell you to leave United States of America. Leave that place, move to the place where your ancestors were taken 400 years ago. and they were held captives at the Cape Coast Castle or the Elmina Castle, and they were sold by greedy African chiefs to the white people. That history is long gone, so move back to the continent, see where your ancestor came from. That's what I can tell you for now. See you in the next video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video actually, support me on Patreon, share the video if possible. I know I've told you a lot. Find the one which is easier for you, or find the one which your heart tells you. See you in the next one.